What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Tailgate Sports Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tanner Johnson. With me, as always, is Ricky Scott.
Hey,
What's
what's
up,
up?
Ricky?
What's up?
Doing good. We're doing another interview. We got
Another one.
the head coach of Perry High School, Coach Ortiz. So we'll let Coach just introduce himself real quick.
Hey, how you doing? Joseph Ortiz, head coach at Perry High School. Going on 4 years now.
Perfect. Before we get started with the questions, we just want to remind everyone, follow us on social media at Tailgate Sports Podcast 24 on Instagram and Tailgate Sports Podcast on TikTok. And Coach, we're real excited to have you. We've been looking forward to this for quite a while.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, so biggest thing, I know you've been coaching around Arizona for quite a long time. My first question, just with any coach, is just what made you want to start coaching?
Well, that wasn't originally the goal. I was going to ASU, and my high school, I went to St. Mary's High School. So when my coach got let go at St. Mary's, he got the head job at Tempe High, and I ended up going to ASU. And he's like, "Hey, I heard you're going to ASU. You want to come coach some football? I need a freshman coach." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll give it a shot." And Tempe's right down the street from the main campus at ASU, so I did it, and at 19, and fell in love with it, and been doing it ever since. So, just kind of worked my way up, and been blessed and lucky to be at some great programs with some great mentors, and was able to get a head job at 32 and at Cactus, and now I'm at Perry now, going on year 4, and super lucky and super blessed to be in this position.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's an awesome opportunity to have at 19. I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no
college
doubt.
student.
I didn't know what I was going to do with my life at that point, but fell in love with football. I get to coach football for a living, so I can't complain.
Yeah, I definitely can hear that. I mean, that'd be awesome.
Oh,
So, my second question is obviously you took over Perry High School. Okay, about 4 years ago, is what you said.
Hmm.
And Perry has kind of this tradition of going kind of up and down through waves and peaks of being extremely competitive through the entire state and kind of valleys where they kind of disappear for a year or two at a time. So I know when you initially got the job, you had about a 3 to 5 year plan
Hmm.
to build the school into being an open division contender. Um, so I just want to let you kind of reiterate some of that, like the progress that you believe you've made on that plan, and just let you expand on that a little bit.
Sure, and it's not just me. It's we my administration and my assistants. We put together a plan for everything, and like I said, you're right. 3 to 5 year plan. Year 2, we made we went 7-3, first winning season in about 5 years at Perry. We went 5-5 this year, lost in the quarterfinals the last 2 years. But our goal, since me taking over, is to be a perennial open caliber team, and we're finally starting to get the kids in, the athletes in. Um, we have the best quarterback in the 27 class in Kale Snyder with 8 offers, an SEC offer. So we're building it the right way. We do things the right way at Perry, and I've learned that through Jennifer Burks and Heather Patterson, my principal and athletic director. And we're super excited about what we have going. I know Perry had, when I took over, they were 3-18 like the last 3 years because of COVID, and we've kind of righted the ship and getting better, but we need to continue it. 6A quarterfinals isn't good enough at Perry. If you look at Perry, our open basketball team has won four open state championships in a row. Our girls and boys soccer's in it, badminton, softball, baseball. Baseball's ranked #1 in the state right now. So we're good at everything at Perry, and football's catching up, and I think we're on the right path to get up to the standard of Perry athletics.
that's awesome.
You got a question, Ricky?
Yeah, hey, Coach, just wanted to know what are some of the biggest challenges you face in high school football today? Like, is there anything out of the norm?
It's more of the landscape. You look at the Southeast Valley, and you have 20 high schools within a 10-mile radius.
Yeah.
It is cutthroat. It is, everyone's trying to do different maneuvers to try and get kids into your program. And like for us, for example, we started an 8th grade camp Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, starting in January,
Well,
all the way through spring ball, just to get kids in our weight room, lifting, running. It's just so cutthroat in the Southeast Valley to get kids, and everyone wants to go to, right now, the Bashes of the world, the Hamiltons, the Chandlers, and we're just trying to throw our hat in the mix right there. And we're not trying to recruit them. We're just trying to just show them what we offer here at Perry. And that has been the hardest thing, is just getting continuous kids, good athletes into our program, and it's hard, and the parents, are an issue too. Every parent thinks that their kid is
Yeah.
Division 1,
No.
and we all know that's not the case. And our goal at Perry is to try and get every kid into a 4-year school, and it's okay to go Division 2, Division 3, NAIA. So those have been the two hardest things I've had to juggle, being the head coach at Perry, and going up to the 6A from 4A is it's a big jump. And we play big boy football, and I think our state is a top 10 state in the country when it comes to football and talent and all that. So being able to be a part of that is very humbling and honoring.
I agree.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Arizona definitely has the talent to be able to compete with the states of California and Texas and Georgia. I don't think it's the same necessarily positions. I think each state specializes in specific positions. Like Arizona, I think has a great quarterback base, a great cornerback and defensive back base. And then there will be a couple offensive linemen that sprinkle in through the rest of that. That's specifically what I've seen just through because I focus mostly on the draft. I'm a big college football guy, so that's what I evaluate a lot is development of players, especially Chandler. Obviously, like you said, you have Hamilton, you have Basha, you have Chandler High School, and Chandler's going through a coaching change this year, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll see what they end up looking like this year. But I think the way that you have started to build Perry has set the foundation for your success going forward.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You got another one, Ricky?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, how do you handle the highs and lows just of the overall, experience for the athlete as far as, their game, for the ones that are doing it, the offers, like you said, the parents, not getting, you know, too overwhelmed with certain things? Do you dedicate a lot of time to that?
Yeah, more time than probably most people, and being a head coach is what you do. The biggest thing I say, and what I said in my interview, and what I really believe in is you want to give the kids a preferred experience. What I mean by that is you want them when they have kids to bring their kid back to you to coach their kid, and we truly preach family. And I'm being a St. Mary's guy. I don't know. How well you guys knew the state back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, but St. Mary's was the Chandler, was the Basha, was the Liberty, and we preached the family type atmosphere. And I grew up around it. My parents went there. My dad still holds state records there for kicking. Um, I learned that from just being a St. Mary's guy, and it's all about family and preferred experiences and something they can always talk about, 10, 20, 30 years from now. I hope they're still talking about when they played at Perry football. And that's the biggest thing we try and preach over there. And just what I learned in my time as being a coach and working under Coach Zuby for 10 years. He was one of the best coaches in the state, in my opinion, at Higley. Um, so it's just what we try and do, Perry. That's what it's family.
I love that.
There's some kids, there's sometimes where I'm with the football players more than they are with their family and with their parents. So
Yeah.
for them to trust in me and our coaches to know that they're going to be taken care of and loved and mentored is that's what it's all about. To me, the winning and losing, that's just a byproduct of what we're doing. At the end of the day, we're doing this for kids.
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, you are their parent away from their
Yeah.
parents,
Yeah, and
helping
that's
mold them.
right. So I'm single, no kids. So if I don't have kids, I'm cool because I got 150 to 200 every year. Like I'm good.
Yeah.
And they just keep coming every year.
It never ends.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I think your players can definitely feel the amount that you care for them,
Mhm.
and you want them to just feel like it's a safe place.
Yes. I
Obviously,
want
like
them to I want them to go to football, weight room, on the field, whatever we're doing football related in the team room, whatever that they feel it's a safe place, and they can get away from their problems. And we all have problems. Kids have more problems now than ever with social media.
mhm.
So for us to be able to let them get away from that is what's very important in my opinion.
Yeah, totally agree. I know Ricky has kids that are older and getting into high school and stuff, so he's experiencing a lot of like what you're saying. So
Hmm.
um, my kids are all young, so I haven't had time to experience any of that. So I'm kind of dreading that a little bit. But coach, so obviously you were at Cactus High School. You learned under Coach Zuby. Um, is there a specific kind of tendency that you lean towards? With like, do you lean more offensive focused, defensive focused, or are you kind of trying to be involved in everything?
I'm an offensive guy. I call the offense. A lot of coaches like to be, managers and kind of get a coordinator here, OC, DC. To me, calling plays is fun. That's the fun part of everything, dealing with the parents and all the booster issues and all the administration stuff. Like calling the offense and game planning for the offense is the fun part. So I'm an offensive guy. I delegate my defensive, the defensive side of things to my DC, and I think I have a really, really great one in Justin Clare, who in the 6A last year, I think we only gave up 18 points a game, and he's done a phenomenal job. I fully delegate that to them and his staff and what we're trying to do. And, I like to coach offense, and, I manage all the other things off of that. But I'm definitely an offensive mind. Been lucky to, I was the OC at Higley for 7 years, and there's 2 years in a row where we led the whole state in points, regardless of division. And, I love offense, and I love calling plays, love scheming, love watching the film and the tape, and, what we can do to exploit defenses.
Yeah. That immediately leads me into: is there any kind of if you're watching the NFL or college, are you kind of watching their plays and trying to like, hey, maybe I can incorporate some of that? Like who would you say kind of influences you? I guess.
I am. I'll be honest. I'm a theft. I'm a stealer. Like I have my offense, but if I see something that I like, I steal it.
I
And I
like
think
it.
that's the beauty of the game of football is, I mean, on Twitter alone, I follow a lot of X's and O's people and highlights, all those type of things on Twitter, and I'll bookmark it. And when I need, I was like, I remember this play that I was like, I'll take it. And we put it in our verbiage and in our formation scheme, and it works. And I'm not too proud. I'm not saying it's my offense is the best offense, but if I see something, I'll take it. There's so
Mhm.
many great offensive minds out there and different philosophies and what they see, and I've learned so much the last 4 years just being at Perry, talking to offensive minds, NFL, college, all those even fellow guys on with high school, and you just get so many things that you can steal and take, and little ins and outs of things, and I'm not too prideful to steal from other people. There's a lot better offensive minds than I am. I just been lucky and been blessed in this position to be, where I'm at.
I mean, I love it. If you're not inspired by someone else and, evolving your game, learning from someone else, then I don't know what you're doing. But I love that
Yeah,
you do that.
it's the beauty of football. Like if you think you got it, then you're in the wrong profession. Like you got to get better
Yeah.
every single year. You got to grind every single year. You got to learn every single year because the game of football evolves year in and year out. And if you don't want to evolve with it, you get passed by, and that's not going to be the Perry Pumas.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just like there's a story of Andy Reid just sitting there on the beach with like a little notebook on his belly, just in the middle of Mexico, just start drawing up plays as soon as the season was over. Like,
Right.
I like that. He's just so obsessed with football, and I
Oh,
love to hear that.
I get my best ideas when I'm not even around Perry or football. I was like, oh shoot,
Hmm.
I need to put that in my notes real quick. Like, I really like that
Hmm.
play, like, or just whatever. Like, just being a football mind, you're a nerd. Believe it
Yeah.
or not. Like,
Yep.
people say, yeah, I'm a football nerd and a football junkie, and I ain't afraid to admit that.
Hmm.
And there's one thing I really appreciate that you brought up is talking about the parents. Sometimes they're a little overbearing and, they all think their kids are the best. And we've done quite a few interviews with some coaches, and I feel like a lot of people have kind of avoided it a little bit, or we just haven't touched on it. But my son
Hmm.
played at Shell Ridge for 2 years, and I've seen firsthand how these parents could be, not only to you guys, but to the refs and everything. So it was cool
Yeah,
that you brought it up.
and it's okay, like, because I get it that their kids are their number one priority, and my number one priority is making sure they're taken care of in the Perry football program. And as long as they understand that I'm caring for their kids, and they're taken care of, if you don't like my decisions or my defensive coordinator's decisions on how we're playing them, then that's fine. As long as you aren't a detriment to the program and what we're trying to do, then, I get it. You're trying to just stand up for your kid, for your son, and every parent should do that. And they may not like my decisions, but at the end of the day, as long as they know their son is taken care of, and you know that's all I can do on my end. So the phone calls happen. My phone's always accessible to any parent at 11, 12. Like, shoot, I've been on the phone past midnight talking to parents, and it's just part of the job. A lot of coaches don't do that, but I'm here for the kids and the parents, and just want to let them know they may not like my decision of playing time, but I got to play the best 11, because if I don't win in the 6A Premier, or we're not the Premier anymore because of the regions change, but in the CUSD, I
Yeah.
won't be there long. I got to put the best 11 on the field.
I love it.
Yeah, I totally see that. I mean, parents kind of, it goes with the territory, like you said. There's
But I
not
also
really.
have great parents. My booster program. We may not be the best in the state in football right now, but we're the best in the state in booster program. Like
Yeah,
that. My boosters are amazing, and I have great parents. It's just sometimes, you got that's just part of the job is dealing with parents and playing time, and why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And I have no issue talking about those problems as long as you don't bring up another kid. Once you bring another kid, I'm done with the
yeah,
conversation, or that kid and their family come into the conversation as well. So as long as we can talk about your kid and how to be better, I'm more than happy to do that. But like at Perry, I'm blessed. We have a great booster program. We have a great community. We have great parents. I love my parents. I joke around with I talk to my booster president just as much or more than I talk to my mom. Like, so it's just what you have to do being a part of a big time program.
it's great to hear that you're so willing. Like, if a parent comes and says, "Hey, I know my son's not getting a lot of playing time. What can he work on
Hmm.
in order to earn that playing time?"
And I'm
I
happy
mean,
to have that conversation.
I love it.
yeah, because I know some coaches kind of immediately will kind of push it off to the position coach or the coordinator or whoever, just because that's sometimes a difficult question to answer, especially if maybe a kid started football late. Maybe he just is just smaller. I mean, I was
Right.
small, like I was small growing up, and it definitely sucked. Like
I'm
knowing
still
that,
small.
like like it sucks. Like just being too small to play, and you're like, ah,
Right.
man. But then that's being able to explain that and say this is what you need to work on skills wise, and it definitely helps and means a lot more to the boys. But
For sure, and I think I have the benefit of, like, I didn't play Division 1 football. I was an average high school football player. I just loved the game. So when parents want to say about being small or not playing, like, I lived it. So it's I never played Division 1. I'm not. I just busted my tail to get where I'm at. So I can relate to a lot of those kids that aren't playing till their senior year, or not. The guy. Because I wasn't one of those guys. I just loved the game of football and being around those types of people, and loving the game. So it's different, on the basis of I can relate to that, because I mean, you look at our profession, and especially in Arizona high school, you look at most head coaches, they're Division 1, at
yeah.
least college type athletes, and
Hmm.
I'm not afraid to say I didn't play college football. I wish I would have, but I was 5'6", 145 pounds my senior year. Like, just wasn't there, and that's okay, and that's what I try. I think that's why I relate to my kids so well, whether I have the Division 1 kids in Amos and Kale, or the kids that were like me. I can relate to both sides, because I was lucky enough to be around Division 1 athletes growing up, and going to support my friends, and being around coaches that would take me to Division 1 games and meeting NFL players and all that type of thing. So I have the whole spectrum of what it's like.
Yeah, that's. I think it just shows, like you said, your work ethic. I think you have earned every place that you have been at, and it shows. I mean, that's better than just handing a
Yeah.
coaching position to someone just because they played Division 1 or just because they have this other experience. Like, you have worked every moment and every day to be able to say, "I am the head coach of Perry High School."
And I think that's a big honor. So I appreciate that.
I agree. One thing I always notice that the coaches, they always pass on to a lot of their players is tackling. So I talked to a couple of coaches at Shadow, and they were always like, you know, you may not got the football talent, but if you can tackle, like I can use you, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
It's a different skill.
yeah,
It's got to
Yep.
like it's a different skill. You got to not be afraid to tackle and to get your, put your nose in there, and it's a beauty of the game. Not everyone can do it. I mean, I want to say there's half the positions in the game of football that can't tackle. you know,
Yeah.
but there's kids that make a living off of that, and get scholarships off of that. Just being able to
Mm-hmm.
stick their nose in there and not afraid to get dirty and get the contact and make tackles. That could put you in a Division 2, Division 3 program, NAIA program, and there's nothing wrong with playing
Mm-hmm.
at that level.
Yeah.
do you feel like a lot of athletes shed that fear after their freshman, freshman team and
No,
JV?
I want to say it varies. I think
Mm-hmm.
once you get that first varsity hit, you're like, oh, this is
It's
a
a
little
little
bit
different.
different speed. It's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
different physicality. You know, I, I want to. There's some kids that are just naturally born with the ability to tackle and the contact, but there's some kids that grow into it, and there's some kids, I'll be honest with you, that never grow into it. It's just it's hard. It's very hard to be able to sacrifice your body and not care. I think every kid is different when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah. I had a buddy that played with me, and he, in the middle of a game, he dislocated his elbow off of a tackle.
Hmm.
The athletic trainer comes over, pops it back into place. All right, coach, I'm ready to go.
Yeah,
Pops back up and it's
there's
ready to
some
go
kids.
again.
There's some
Yeah.
kids that are like, Coach, I'm done. And there's some kids like,
Yeah.
no, put my butt back in there, like I'm ready to go. That's just kind of
So,
how it is.
That was funny.
yeah. So, you guys, you're going to have some bigger expectations going into this season. You
Mm.
go like you're starting to build that winning program. You have a Division 1 recruited quarterback leading your team, but outside of Kale, who else do you think you are going to lean on as a leader on your team this year?
We have a 3-year returning lineman. He's a stud. I just can't say enough. Tanyan Erdman, he started for us as a sophomore. He'll be one of our leaders. Same with Devin Sarpy. He started as a corner as a sophomore, so he's a senior now. Um, we I just like what we have. From top to bottom. I think the culture, what we're trying to build, we call it our DNA and who we are, and the kids are buying into the DNA. We have a leadership committee, with Trey Castle and, the Camping Brothers. We're just in a really good position right now, and they're all going to buy into each other. We're trying to get them to lead. Like I always say, I'm the captain of the ship, but they run the ship. If it wasn't for them, the ship wouldn't move in the right direction. So, that's what we're trying to work right now with just preaching our DNA and who we are. And what I mean by DNA is, teams want to say about their culture, but how we're trying to define our culture to our kids. So oh yeah, we use the words relentless and scrappy, but how are we relentless and scrappy? How do we do those things? And, we just have a lot of great kids, and, being in the Perry community, we're blessed with those kids. And, I could name every kid on the team and feel, go there, but they all know that they're a big part of what we're doing. And, I think we're loaded at the skill position. We're loaded on defense, offensive line. We improve defensive line. We return 2 out of 3, linebackers. It will be the new group that we're really working on right now. But, I feel pretty good where we're at.
That's great to be able to name just so many players to be able to lean on and to
Mhm.
carry that culture around just through school.
Yep. Culture wins game more than talent, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yep. 100%. The NFL example is the Detroit Lions.
100%.
Like that is culture through and through.
Yep.
They don't have the best players all around, but they win
Hmm.
because they believe in what they're building.
Yep.
And so that's great to hear.
Yeah, like seems like you said, you have the right culture. Those players will run through any wall for you, and like you said, culture, will get you the wins more than talent.
Yeah, and that's why we're not doing the whole, recruitment thing, and we're just trying to build our culture. And if you want to be a part of this culture, then great. If not, that's okay too. But this is what we have to offer at Perry, and I think this is the year that we have a good shot to make the Open and make some noise. And we're just doing things. Here at Perry, we just try and do things the right way.
Well, I look forward to that happening.
Yeah, me too.
Definitely.
Me too.
It'd be great to see Perry back in the Open.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be super exciting to see. So I just want to thank you, Coach, for this opportunity to interview you. It's been great getting to know you a little bit and kind of hearing your philosophies and everything. And we can't wait to be able to talk to you some more later on and as we continue to follow Perry through the season. And so just, again, a special thanks to you for this opportunity.
Yeah, we definitely.
Hey, anytime you guys let me know when you want sideline passes. We'll get you on the sideline. Go watch the Puma Nation.
Oh, we're gonna be there.
Perfect. All right. Thanks everyone for listening to this special episode of the Tailgate Sports Podcast and the interview with Perry High School's head coach, Coach Ortiz. And don't forget to follow us on social media, on Instagram, on TikTok, and support us. Share us with all your friends. Get this around. Get the word around so that these athletes and these coaches can get the recognition that they deserve.
And
I appreciate you guys.
And if you
Go
guys are
Pumas.
local, go check out a Perry game and go support them.
Hey, hey, you let me know. Just hit me up. I'll get you guys on the list.
We'll be there
All right,
for sure.
Perfect.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Coach.
All right. Thank
All right,
you.
bye.